Hey everybody, we are gonna go live here just a little bit early, and I'm gonna just put up a little 10-second sort of video to loop. From what I've seen is that the show starts and the audience sort of builds. So I just wanted, for those of you guys that are already watching, stick around. I'll be back up in about 10 minutes here, but let me see if I can figure out how to do this. So you guys aren't just looking at me. We've got a great show coming up here. All right, let's do this. There we go. All right. How do I loop that? We're figuring this out slowly but surely here, guys. I don't mind making this a little awkward while I figure this out. Oh, here we go. I think I got it. All right, we'll be back in about 7 minutes to start the show. We have Lydia Terrazas. She is one of the best journalists of her generation. And then we also have Leah Nelson, who I first met with Appleseed back in Alabama. She's now uncovering just another incredible story of injustice. We'll have that just a little bit here, guys. I'll be right back. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. Let me see if I can figure this out. I'm running this by myself here today, and there we go. The music is done. We have a very, very exciting lineup here. Hey everybody, I'm Nick Valencia, host of Nick Valencia Live, founder of Nick Valencia News, and today is our new show. We are going to be covering a sort of wide range. We're going to start with immigration, something that we focus on exclusively here, and we're going to pivot as well to another topic that I'm very, very passionate about, is social justice issues. And it was a couple of weeks ago that I was in Montgomery, Alabama, and I reconnected with Leah Nelson. She used to be with Appleseed, which was a nonprofit sort of social justice group. She's now part of a legal defense where they have uncovered just an absolute bombshell of a story. It was back in the 70s that a man was sentenced to death, a black man. His defense attorney was a member of the KKK, and they uncovered this through just extensive reporting, documents, finding photos of him at Klan rallies. They reached out to him. Believe it or not, this guy is still an attorney practicing in Alabama. He's about to celebrate his 50th year as a defense attorney. And according to her reporting, Leah Nelson, who's going to join us just after our next guest, the Alabama State Bar knew about this guy, knew about his affiliations and his connections with the Klan, and they allowed him to continue on as a lawyer. So we have that report. It's out on the Substack. I shared it a little while ago, but we want to start in Texas here. Lydia Terrazas is a reporter who you guys may have heard of, especially if you guys follow my work. You probably follow hers. She has been just absolutely, talk about intrepid. She's been there on the ground covering a lot of what's happened to those that have been in custody, especially in the Dilley Detention Center. That's just outside of San Antonio in Dilley, Texas. And she has focused on the story of 2-month-old Juan Nicolas, among others. I want to play a quick report, something that really caught a lot of attention earlier this year, and then we'll talk to her on the other side.
I'm sad to report that Juan Nicolas, the 2-month-old that was detained in Dilley, has been deported along with his mother and the rest of his family. I spoke to his mother just a few minutes ago. She confirmed that they were practically abandoned at the border. The baby is still sick. They were left there with the money they had left in their commissary, and someone actually gave them a phone in the street, and that's how she was able to call me. She's in distress. She's panicking. They were sent to the same place they fled from.
So unreal circumstances. Also, it seems as though this mother and 2-month-old, they were promised potentially, and we'll get into it with the details, promised potentially a foster family, lured into Mexico. They're from Guatemala. They're not even from there. Lydia Terrazas, she joins us now live on Nick Valencia Live. Come on in here to the stage. There you are. Hey, Lydia. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hi, Nick. Thanks for having me. I'm doing well. A lot going on here in the San Antonio Dilley area.
Yeah, there's so much going on, and we played just one of your quick reports to camera about your coverage of Juan Nicolas. It really exploded your profile. I know you don't care about the attention. You are out there, just covering stories because they need to be covered. What's it been like having to listen repeatedly to the trauma of these individuals who have been put through these circumstances? What's it been like for you?
That's actually a very hard question to answer, because I think that For the last couple of months, I really haven't had a chance to stop and think about how I feel.
Mm.
It has been a lot of different cases, one after the other. I'm not sure if you've seen our report of how there was a moment in which a dozen kids literally lined up one after the other to talk to us from inside the detention center. So there's just a lot of cases, and this has been going on for almost a year in Dili. I've been covering Dili since May of last year. Liam Ramos's case really put Dili on the map, and it's been nonstop since then. So it has been difficult, to be honest with you. Some of the cases get to you, and it's impossible not to feel something and not to cry at times. But we're doing the work, and we're still here.
We're just playing while we were talking to you, playing one of the reports that you had, something that shocked me. It reminded me of cartel coverage when kids used to play narco y policía, and the bad guy would be the cop and the narco would be the good guy. Tell me about what you learned here about the games that are being played at Dili. This family intended for families. So this is why you're hearing these stories.
This, according to the children that have been in Dili, is the most popular game in this detention center. A third of the detainees in Dili are children, and they've created this game called escaping immigration, escapar de la migra, escapar de migración. That's what how they said it in Spanish. And what they do is they pick different teams, right? There are the children that are playing the role of ICE agents, and there are children that are playing the role of immigrants. And the ICE agents are supposed to chase the other children, and if the children who are immigrants, they fight back and they're able to escape, well, they made it, right? They tell me that it's some sort of wishful thinking, that they wish that when they were detained, along with their parents, they could have escaped. That they say, we imagine what we could have done different. That's one thing that I just really, really shocked me to my core, was hearing them say, you know besides being a game, we also wish that we could have done that in real life. Now, the kids who can't escape are taken, with their hands behind their back, as parents have described it, to the only sort of playground that's in Dili. And they're taken up to this playground where there is a kid that plays an attorney, and there is the older kids, the bigger kids, play the judge. And I think that's some sort of symbolism, right? It's the older, more authoritarian person plays the judge. That's sort of how they described it to me. And they're supposed to plead their case and hope that they're going to be let go.
And they're supposed to try to lead normal lives after they get out of these facilities, whether they're the lucky ones and let out into the United States, or whether they're sent back to their homes. What do you think? Because I know you haven't just stopped at the stories there in Dili. You've followed the stories. Part of what your success has been is not just stopping when a story is done and out of the news. You follow up. You follow, literally sometimes travel to the destination. What's it been like on the other side to see the trauma as they're back home, quote unquote, or back where the U.S. wants them?
I think this is very important because it's not being covered enough. The aftermath of family detention. And first of all, let's talk about the families that are considered lucky because they are not deported and they're released within the United States, and they're sent, back to their sponsors or the states where they were living, that find themselves with nothing all of a sudden. We just reported on a family that they were sent back well, really, they were dropped off at a bus station so they could, catch a bus to New Mexico. And when they returned to the apartment that they called home for over 2 years, they found that someone stole all their belongings, including their dog. They found themselves in this place where their car, was abandoned in the parking lot, and they were given their keys back, so they were living in their car. And right now, they are able to find an apartment because the community has really, really come out and support them, and they, there's a GoFundMe. That's, the same story for the kids who told me about the game. The same story for them is, their mom says, I used to have a really beautiful home. I used to have a beautiful home, and the kids had their own space, and the kids tell me we feel like we just don't have our home anymore, which they don't. They're living with family members. Dads are out of a job, and they have to start from scratch, and it is very hard. It is very, very difficult because they're taken to this place. They're detained for months, and then when they finally go home, everything that they knew, everything that they were used to is completely gone, and they have to start again. And it is definitely a very difficult situation. Now people that are deported, it is a different scenario, and it could be extremely tragic. I mean, look at Juan Nicolas's family. They were dropped off at the border crossing with the $190 that were left in their commissary, which had just been deposited by an organization Each Step Home, literally 2 days before they were deported. And they had to pretty much scramble and get that first hotel that was available at that time. And they said, well, those $190 saved our lives because we didn't know where to go. That's the
You know,
reality.
as you're talking as well, Lydia, it strikes me it's a loss of dignity for these families as well. It seems to me that these are families that have gone already through this arduous journey of getting here. I know the stories. I know the stories. Most of the people that come here are coming for legitimate asylum claims, or at least legitimately for a better life. Están huyendo de algo. And so
Hmm.
it strikes me that here you're describing this family who has probably already been through their worst day. They come out thinking, okay, whew, sigh of relief, and they go back home, and it's gone. All their possessions are gone. And I'm sure when she says she has a beautiful home, she's saying it very humbly. This isn't like she's living in this extravagant home. It's just something that she has respect for. She feels some sort of dignity as a human being. And it also strikes me, the story that you just touched on with the mariachis. I want to play a report that I followed it as well. If you guys are following our reporting, there was a group of brothers, 3 brothers, 6th, 9th, and 12th graders. And these are like some of the best of the best. Mariachi music,
Hmm.
a mariachi high school band is a unique American story. And there's a ton of them in the South Texas area. They came across CBP One app, passed credible fear interviews, and last week, they were basically summoned by immigration officials and unexpectedly, all of them taken into custody. Lydia Terrazas, who is joining us here now, she was able to speak with the boys as they were in custody. They are out now, but I want to show you this report here.
Uno en cada cachetito le lucen encantadores, mi pobre corazoncito suspira por sus amores.
Who is that? Tell us about who you interviewed, and tell us a little bit about more of what I left out.
That's Joshua Gomez Cuellar. He is the youngest of the 3 mariachi brothers that were detained in the McAllen area. And, that was a heartbreaking but beautiful conversation at the same time. I had the opportunity to speak with their mom and the 2 younger brothers, because the eldest, 18-year-old Antonio, was actually separated. And it's important to mention that too, because, as these kids age out, as it's referred to in the ICE world, they are no longer kids, according to the laws in the United States. So they are separated from their families and sometimes sent to other detention centers, which is what happened with Antonio. We're talking about an 18-year-old kid. He's still a kid. 3 brothers that are extremely talented. They are all very, very close. And so what mom, Emma, Cuellar, described to me, the scene of when they found out that, they were at a regular check-in, a story we hear every single day over and over again. They were at a regular check-in, and they were told, well, the laws have changed. And I'm quoting this. This is exactly what she said. They were told the laws have changed, and now you have to wait for a resolution on your case, while you're detained. And so they take Antonio away for a little bit. And apparently they let Antonio know, you're going to be going to a different detention center because you're an adult now. He comes out crying into the room and says, Mom, Dad, I'm going to be separated. And that scene that Emma described to me was of her husband, their dad, who dropped to the ground, and he was begging and crying to ICE agents to please, please, please not take his eldest son away. He said,
They
I
don't
will do
care.
anything,
It's like this
according to
emotion
Mom.
stuff doesn't land on them, though, Lydia. They don't care about the emotion. It's almost like they want to celebrate that aspect of it.
I think that, and something that other attorneys do share is that, they have these, I guess, their rules. They abide by these rules that they have to follow, and it just seems like, it's something that they can't bend. Their reasoning behind it when they say please, please let my son stay with us is, this is how it is. These are the rules that we have to follow. Eventually, and I want to make this clear because there is now what I call a script that DHS has. This is what I have seen over and over again, right? We request information from the Department of Homeland Security about an arrest or detention, I should say. And it is almost as if they just copy and paste the new name of a case into the same script. And it says, in this case, Emma, her husband, chose to take their children into detention with them. They came into the United States unlawfully because as CBP 1 has disappeared now, the government is saying that these cases are unlawful. So that's sort of how they're pretty much putting everything under the same category. And so they end up taking Antonio away, and then they get to Dilly, and she says there was a moment where her husband would just roll on the ground, crying, begging to have her son back. Again, these are still kids. Even if you're 18, even if you're 14, they're still kids. And then you have this 12-year-old child who called me Miss, out of respect,
Con
sing a
respeto,
song to me. And it was such a heartbreaking testimony followed by this beautiful song. And it's just hard to explain. You just have to watch it. There's just really no other way to put it.
And these are the best of the best. They just performed at Capitol Hill. They were just at Carnegie Hall. You hear that from white parents in our country. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. These kids just got here in 2023, and they're already adding value, a sense of pride to South Texas. You saw congressional candidate Bobby Polito come out and basically say, what the fuck is going on here? These are not the people that we're supposed to be targeting. And I want to make something clear. You hear this all the time from people who support what's going on, that this is a pendulum swinging back the other way, that Biden let in so many and the Democrats let in so many people. Why aren't we just going after the people that Biden let in? If they are so efficient and so effective at their jobs, if they have so much money and so many resources and the ability to literally triangulate around a neighborhood and know patterns of people's behavior, they have all the addresses of people who have been doing it the right way. Why not just go after people who are truly the criminals and the violent offenders? They're not. It's and then I hear stories about what you're sharing, Lydia. How has it been being a Latina reporter, knowing that you have todos tenemos un tío o tía que apoya a Trump, or somebody in our circle that we know? It's not so surprising to us, How has it been like to have those conversations, knowing that you are a primary source, you are talking directly to these individuals? It's not like you're going at the dinner table. No one can accuse you of saying, oh, where did you read that? You actually saw it. What's that been like, having the conversations with people in your life who support this?
Well, you know what? I think that the fact that I'm there, boots on the ground, is always important, because I think that makes a huge difference in when you're explaining how the system is working right now. It does give me more credibility, being
Absolutely.
able to say, well, this is what I saw. And I think that that's pretty much also what happened with you in Minnesota. You were there. You were, among these agents while these crazy things were happening. And there is just a lot of value on that. I mean, people that, you know didn't really believe that some of these things were happening, people that really thought Oh, there is absolutely no way that there is no purified water in Delhi. It's just that's just not. There's no way. It's a basic human right. Well, I mean, it's true, and I have heard it time and time again, and it's gotten to the point where Congress members have been able to sneak out some samples of the water and are testing it, and it's I mean, you're going to tell me that dozens and hundreds of families are lying about their kids getting sick from drinking the water. I mean, we are seeing it, just like we see outside where or even during the protest at Dili, the one protest that happened on the outside during Castro's first visit. I mean, we saw how quick the Department of Public Safety here in Texas acted, because we're talking about a state that is working very, very closely to Trump policies. So, I mean, I've seen it, and being there and speaking to people does really help. Being able to actually talk to the people on the inside and hear about these stories, it has really helped to.
Oh, I think we're losing Lydia's connection here. Oh no. It
I
really
think I'm
does.
back.
Okay. It really does help, though, what you're doing. And I only had one more question. I mean, you have helped really put a light on things for people, galvanize people in a way that, like you said, they didn't think it was as bad as it was. And they see you reporting. We see you following the 2-month-old. We see everything that you're doing, Lydia. It's just amazing work. And I know that you're doing it because you believe in journalism as an active service. The last question I have for you is, what do you wish people were asking right now that they aren't?
Well, truly is. I mean, right now I just saw during the presser yesterday where members of Congress that visited Dili were speaking here in San Antonio. They talked about the one teacher that is at Dili, right? The one teacher that is responsible for teaching or educating hundreds of kids of all ages. And this is gaining traction right now. And people are like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening." We've been talking about the fact that there is one educator in Dili for months. And I think that people just really need to be asking themselves, what if it was my child? Because I really do believe that every single person is just moments away from becoming a refugee. I truly believe that we are all just moments away from being in this situation, because we've seen how quickly these policies have changed in the United States, and it happens in other countries. So it really, we're only moments away from being in the same situation, in the shoes of these kids. And all I'm saying is, look, let's say that DHS is arguing, yes, maybe Juan Nicolas's parents came here and they shouldn't have tried to come in, even if they did ask for asylum as soon as they crossed the border. They shouldn't do that because we don't want people here. Let's say that's what they're that let's say that's it, right? But we're talking about a 2-month-old baby who was in the hospital 6 hours, 7 hours before he was deported. We're talking about a situation that could have ended in death, in the death of an infant. We still have to remember that there are these basic human rights that we have to consider. And Juan Nicolas is only one of so many kids who have been taken to hospitals from Dili. That is now, we're now uncovering these stories. I just want people to ask themselves, what if it was my child? What if it was my niece? What if it was my nephew? And just really that. It's a very, very simple question. We are, besides policy, it's about those basic human rights, especially children in this situation.
And that's basically what the government is saying, is that they don't want to acknowledge asylum, that they, even though this is something that has been part of our country's fabric for, I don't even want to pretend to know how long. I mean, it's just so inextricably linked with what we are as the United States.
Mhm.
Since 2017, since Trump 1.0, the government has been effectively arguing that they're against asylum. They've been turning people away
Mhm.
at lawful points of entry, at Customs and Border Protection, CBP ports of entry and points of entry. You know, these are not just people who are being caught in the open fields by Border Patrol agents. And then that's another point that we should make. When they are caught or spotted by officials, federal officials, they're not running away. They're running towards the agents in the uniforms because they're so grateful to see somebody here. You know, it's
And Nick, if you allow me, because I think that's a great point. What you're saying is the asylum claims and how the government's pretty much saying this is no longer valid, right?
yeah.
But it's also, let's talk about the Flores Agreement, and this is
Hmm.
directly, connected to Dilley, which is the agreement from 1997 that states that immigrant children, shouldn't be detained for more than 20 days.
Yeah.
It's sort of a similar situation because the Trump administration, since August of last year, has attempted multiple times to end the Flores Agreement, to make the Flores Agreement disappear. And even though they haven't been allowed to, and judges had said no, the Flores Agreement stays. They have made sure, it looks like, to really just create a culture of where the Flores Agreement, even though it's there, it's not really being considered by judges anymore, especially in the state of Texas.
You're
So
right.
we are talking about families inside of the Dilley Detention Center that are hiding any sort of policy like the Flores Agreement, any like directive that is printed on a piece of paper, and they're trying to learn about it because they have that hope that they can go up to the judge and talk about the Flores Agreement, but judges are no longer considering it.
It's maddening. I had no idea that that was happening. I mean, I just came from Camp East, Montana, and they are trying to educate themselves on what a habeas corpus petition is. That's a constitutional right that everyone has, that should be the first thing that you do if you're detained or your loved one is detained. And it effectively translates to bringing the body in front of the judge. So you have your day in court. It's not guaranteed, again, because like Lydia Terrazas says, we lost her connection, but her beautiful face was up here just moments ago. But as she's saying, these judges aren't even allowing or finding merit in something that has long been a policy and directive of the United States. And so, Lydia, you've been so gracious with your time. I know you're busy and just jamming. I was so grateful to just book you on the show. In your last few seconds before we get to Leah Nelson, anything that you want to talk about, anything that you want to say, and how do people follow you? Now's your chance.
Well, I think that we just have to remember that, and I've been saying this, right? Just like Liam Ramos, Juan Nicolas, uh, Joshua, Caleb, and Antonio, there are still hundreds of children that are detained in Dilley, and it's not just in Dilley, but detention centers all over the country. And we just need to continue to ask questions about the conditions in these places. I think that's important. You guys can find me as Lydia Terrazas on X, Lydia Terrazas News on Instagram, and also Lydia Terrazas on TikTok.
And she is, I mean this, I'm not just saying this because she's here, but she is one of the best reporters of this generation. I remember, I guess it must have been 8 or months ago now, maybe 6 months ago, when I was starting to trend up, and you said, that's going to be me one day. And look, everything that you post now, Lydia, it's got thousands of likes. Congressman Castro is reposting you. You're informing the public, and there is no ego that I sense from you. I don't know you. This is the first time that we've had a conversation, but just please keep going and do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself. Because I know that this is a lot to handle. You are literally part best friend, part therapist, part journalist, part friend, so we're human beings first. So Lydia, the invitation's open. You could always call me, connect with others. Just, make sure you take care of yourself, because we need you out there. We need you doing what you're doing. So God bless you, Lydia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you so much. And it's been great to connect with you. I admire you very much. And I just want to say that one thing you said recently was that journalism is a public service. And that's something that I have been living by since I became a journalist. And it was really, really good to hear it from someone like you. So thanks.
Amen. All right. We'll see you next time. We'll be following your reporting. That's Lydia Terrazas. Thank you so much for taking the time with Nick Valencia News. We'll see you next time. All right. We pivot to away from immigration. I know it's our favorite topic to talk about here, because I think it's the story of our lifetime. You think about all the things that Lydia was talking about, and the people that are in our lives, that intersect with our lives. It is brown people being persecuted right now. It's members of my community and her community, right? But you think about all the people that intersect with us, that love us, our partners, our spouses, our friends, neighbors. the trauma is rippling now. This has gone on for a really long time. And so it's going to go on for even longer. You know, we have a whole rest of Trump's presidency and a lot of Republicans who are really sort of globbing on to this being the way now. We pivot away, though, from one social justice issue to another. Leah Nelson is somebody who I met a couple of years ago when I was investigating the Southern Poverty Law Center and claims and allegations that were being made of sexism, misogyny, just sort of mismanagement of that organization. She was not with the SPLC, but she was investigating that. She's now investigating some really just terrible stuff. I reconnected with her recently when I was in Montgomery, Alabama, and she joins us in just a little bit here, but she was telling me about a member of the KKK who was a defense attorney for a man back in the 70s who was sentenced to death, and that the Alabama State Bar knew exactly of this man's affiliations to the KKK, did nothing about it. And this man, you would think, okay, we're talking about him because he's dead or because he's, we've uncovered this. He's alive. He's still in Alabama. And Leah might correct me here, but I believe he's about to celebrate his 50th year as an attorney practicing. Leah Nelson joins us now live on Nick Valencia Live. Hey, Leah, so nice to see you. How are you?
It's great to see you too. I want to just make a really quick correction. We met over Brookside. Brookside, Alabama was this little tiny town up in Jefferson County that had half of its police force or half of its city budget was fines and fees. And we met in a park out there to talk about what that meant for the people of the town and the police. But it's so great to see you again, Nick.
I'm conflating two stories. I remember I was going from SPLC right to that Brookside Police Department, and they had like those Bearcats and like all those like cool
they had a tank
toys. And it's like, okay, they had a tank. How did you get the tank? Oh, because you're flagging and spotting people that are black driving and you're pulling them over and giving them tickets, right? You have been fighting for social justice. Tell us how you uncovered this story. Where did that start?
Well, I moved to Alabama 16 years ago to work for the Southern Poverty Law Center, actually covering hate and extremism. I just heard a little bit of your talk with Lydia, and I also have a journalism background. It's so lovely to be in a conversation with someone who understands how public service journalism works. So I moved from Brooklyn to Alabama very idealistically. I was going to cover hate and extremism, and I did for 2 years in the building at SPLC. But then I moved on and became a paralegal at the Federal Defender Office, and that's when I first learned about Rocky Myers' case. Mr. Myers is a Black man who, at the time I first encountered him, was on death row in Alabama, having been convicted in the 1991 stabbing death of his neighbor, a woman named Lydia Mae Tucker, in Decatur, Alabama. We knew Rocky was innocent. There's no forensic evidence that connected him to Miss Tucker's death. And I think for me, the most compelling piece of information was she called police before she died, and she described the person who had stabbed her. But she knew Rocky. Now, if my neighbor stabbed me, I would say Jeff stabbed me. It was him.
Right. Yeah.
She gave a physical description of this man. She didn't say who it was because she didn't know who it was. Witnesses later recanted. The people who put Rocky at the scene of this crime recanted their testimony, said they'd been pressured to do it. One of them had gotten a deal from police in exchange for fingering Rocky. And all of this added up last year to a commutation of Rocky's sentence. He's no longer on death row. But he's still serving life without the possibility of parole. And so in order to get any movement on that and to change his circumstances, we needed to develop new evidence to explain how it could be that he was convicted of this crime in the first place. The procedural history of this case is incredibly convoluted, but suffice to say, he's been abandoned by a lot of lawyers in his time. So we needed to start from scratch with something different. And what came up was the attorney who represented him at trial, who was appointed as his defense counsel, a man named John Mays.
This guy right here that we're looking at here. And tell us the photo. This connects him to the Klan.
It doesn't just connect him. From everything I can tell, John Mays, who is indeed still practicing law in Decatur, Alabama, was a leading member of the United Klans of America, which from 1961 until its demise in 1987 was arguably the largest and most violent Klan faction in the United States of America. They were linked to the 1963 bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church right here in Birmingham.
Wow.
Their members shot and killed a civil rights worker named Viola Liuzzo after the Selma to Montgomery March. Mr. Mays appears to have joined them shortly after he passed the bar in 1977, and very quickly started representing them in civil matters, in criminal matters, traveling the Southeast, speaking at least 9 Klan rallies or cross burnings that I was able to find in newspapers. He represented them in 1987 when the mother of a young man who was lynched by UKA members, United Klans of America members, her mother sued the Klan for wrongful death. John Mays defended them and he lost. The Klan lost all of its assets, and John Mays seems to have walked away and started a law office. 5 years and 1 day after he lost it all for the Klan, he was appointed to represent Rocky Myers, a black man accused of killing a white woman. He took the case, he lost, and now Rocky's in prison for the rest of his life, having been represented by someone who is very closely associated with the Klan.
Yeah, you think a black man's going to get a zealous defense from a Klansman?
I do not.
And he didn't. And look at what the result was. What does Rocky say to the kind of defense or to what happened there? I mean, you've spoken to him. What does he say now about all this coming to light?
Rocky is someone who sees the best in everyone. He has a really, really hard time wrapping his head around the fact that his lawyer was not there for him. But he knew about the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. Everyone in America knew about that. So learning that he was defended by the same person who defended the organization that carried out one of the most infamous, horrific terrorist attacks of the 20th century, I don't know that Rocky has fully digested that. I can't speak for him.
I'm pulling up the Substack article now, and I'm going to share this here with everybody. But while I do that, you reached out in good faith, as journalists do and as investigators do. You reached out to Counsel Mays, and what did he have to say about all of this?
We talked for about an hour and a half in July, and he told me that I guess I should report this in good faith. He says he was not a Klan member. He just likes defending unpopular causes. But I brought with me an article that he wrote for the Fiery Cross, which was the Klan's quarterly publication, where he was thanked as one of the people who made it possible for that publication to occur.
I brought the article here. I pulled some elements. You sent me some stuff here.
Here's a picture of a Klan rally that he is named in this newspaper article as being at.
So you're coming with receipts, and what is his response to this?
His response is just, couldn't be me. But when I asked him, why does this article say that you were imperial counsel to the Klan? He said, it's imperial consul. And I didn't accept that position. And it's like, oh, I'm sorry. Did I mispronounce the honorific that you didn't accept?
What the fuck?
What
is this right here that we're looking at? This subscription form. This is one of the pieces that are part of this all here as well.
Right. So what you're seeing along the side of that is the masthead. So the Fiery Cross was a quarterly publication published by the United Klans of America, and we see that they have thanked John E. Mays as an individual or organization who contributed material to make the publication possible. That's not his only byline for the United Klans of America. He was so much more than just a lawyer representing an unpopular cause. Lawyers representing unpopular causes do not speak at cross burnings. And I want to say, I went and spoke with some other Klan members, knocking on doors to see who might remember him. I went a couple weeks ago with a colleague of mine to have a conversation with someone in central Alabama who came out and was very gregarious and certainly remembered John Mays, and he was the guy that you called if you were a Klansman and you got in trouble. And this man, in describing the many violent acts that he personally had undertaken that John Mays helped defend criminally, he put his finger to my temple to demonstrate where the gun was one time. He slashed his hand across my colleague's chest to demonstrate where the knife was. I believe every criminal defendant deserves a zealous defense. And so I believe Rocky deserved a zealous defense. And I'm glad that this man, who did end up going to prison for the shooting and the knifing that he demonstrated on me and my colleague, I'm glad he had a defense. But I cannot in good conscience think that a Klan lawyer could represent a black man accused of killing a white woman in 1991.
What has been the consequence of this? This seems like it should be a tectonic shift in the legal community in Alabama, that the state bar would say, oh my gosh, I can't believe that we have somebody like this representing. Tell me what has happened.
So far, nothing. But right now, the Morgan County, Alabama District Attorney has a petition pending, and he needs to make a decision about how he wants to respond to it. We have presented all of the evidence and more that I've shared with you just now. And it is his choice whether he wants to say, I think this conviction should stand. I'm comfortable that Rocky had a fair trial and that all of his rights have been appropriately vindicated. Or he can say, when he responds on Monday, you know what? This was a mistake that I inherited from my predecessor, and I'm here to clean it up. I hope that he does what justice demands. I think it is very clear that John Mays was not the right person to represent Rocky. And I sincerely hope that the district attorney, when he replies on Monday, demonstrates having reached that same conclusion. I want to say, I have some hope now that I didn't yesterday when we scheduled this.
Yeah, tell me about it, because we pulled this as well here. This is news that just a time ago here. What are we looking at?
Okay, so 3 seconds ago, no, 3 hours ago, Governor Ivey issued the second commutation of her career, and only the third commutation of a death sentence in the modern death penalty era in Alabama. She decided that Charles Sonny Burton should not die on Thursday. Mr. Burton was also a client of mine when I was at the Federal Defenders. I cannot take any credit for his commutation, but he's someone I know.
Knowing you're involved in a lot of advocacy, and I'm not surprised that you played a role and you're downplaying the role that you played, okay?
Well, let us say many, many, many people came together to accomplish this. But his lawyer just got to tell him, I think his lawyer is down there and was, saying goodbye. Sorry, I couldn't save your life. And they learned this news together that, in fact, Sonny is going to live. The state will not kill him Thursday. And the reason this gives me so much hope, aside from just, oh my God, this is unbelievable, I've been crying, is that this shows it is possible, even in Alabama, especially in Alabama, for someone to inherit a mistake that was made by a predecessor and to fix it, to do the right thing. Kay Ivey did not put Sonny Burton on death row, but she decided he shouldn't stay there. And Scott Anderson, the district attorney in Morgan County, he didn't bring the case against Rocky. He didn't prosecute him. He had nothing to do with John May's appointment. Now it is in his hands to say, enough. I'm going to do what justice demands. And I have new hope that he'll do that after what happened with Sonny today.
You talking about this all, it reminds me of Just Mercy and Brian Stevenson's story, and going down into Alabama, right, and trying to convince a district attorney to do the right thing. I mean, I think right now, and if you guys don't know who Brian Stevenson is, I mean, it's just Equal Justice Initiative, EJI, is that right? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah, Equal Justice Initiative, the lynching museum, he was behind that in Montgomery. Everybody should go there. Yes. Everybody in our country needs to walk through that building just to see the impact it just strikes me, Leah, as you're talking about that there's a lot of opportunity now in 2026 for us to, rectify some of the wrongs, the sins of our fathers. You hear all that all the time, but just to do the right thing. And I think, to land the plane on this, talking about service and a service position, this is the ultimate act of service, to do the right thing and showing up as the individual. You need to be strong right now and resilient. Individuals need to be strong and resilient right now. And I think eventually every single one of us is going to have to play our part. What's this like, though, being on the other side, knowing that you're going against this tide in Alabama? There's a lot of people watching this from California. A lot of people watch it on replay. There's that stereotype people have. It's unfair, but it exists, of what Alabama is, backwards in the justice system. Of course this happens. But here you are, this progressive voice, this bastion of light here. What is it really like? Give us the reality.
I love it here. I moved here for a 2-year fellowship 16 years ago, and I never left. It's not perfect, but it is the most interesting place on earth. And I have been able to find a place and a lane for myself that I would never have expected. I am a walking stereotype in some ways, right? I went to Columbia. I am Jewish. I am from the Northeast. Like, it's embarrassing. But there's a place here, even for me. And the people here are so brilliant, like the ones who are doing the work and who I have the privilege of working with. Rocky Meyer's legal team, Casey Keaton, his lawyer of decades until he got off death row. Mitch McGuire, his lawyer now. Miriam Bankston, his investigator. And so many other people who some of them are no longer with us, who are part of saving Rocky's life. And now I hope of moving him to the next step, which is freedom. I would never have had the privilege of working with them if I had stayed in Brooklyn. I lived in LA for a minute. It was great. Very good coffee. I couldn't have done this. I wouldn't be anywhere else.
Hey, look, there's some good coffee
you work
there too, right?
I mean,
yes, you're on the front lines of really something that matters so much.
You've worked with Dr. White at Alabama State University. We're talking about Robert White, who's like the keeper of civil rights history in Montgomery.
Yeah.
There is a treasure here. There are people you would meet nowhere else. There is history you would encounter nowhere else. There are opportunities to step up and use whoever you are, even if it's the wrong person. And I promise I am the wrong person to walk into any room in Alabama and matter. But sometimes I get to anyway, and that is remarkable. It's why I stay and why I'm choosing to raise my kids here.
And I see this remarkable intersection between what we can learn from the civil rights history in Alabama from people like Dr. White. I talk to him regularly, probably not as much as he would like me to talk to him. I can't answer every call, Dr. White. I love you, brother. But it strikes me as something that I can learn from someone like you. So selfishly and individually, he's a resource for me for what we can do and I could do now as a leader in my community to step up in this moment, because there's a moment to meet. And I guess, with the little time we have left, what's your charge for the people that are watching here?
Oh my goodness. Sorry. There's my charge for the lawnmower behind me is this is very bad timing.
Well, how about that? We wrap it up here. What's the charge for the people that are watching that really believe in this social justice mission and this cause?
Call or email or send mail to the District Attorney of Morgan County, Alabama, and urge him to take a look at the petition that is pending right now. Urge him to look at the facts and do what justice demands. And when you do this, remember, he inherited this mess. He did not make it. He didn't arrest Rocky. He didn't prosecute him. He didn't seek his conviction, didn't ask for the death penalty. He has received what I'm sure is a very complicated and unwelcome complication in his life. He has the opportunity to do the right thing. Ask him the way that you would want to be asked if you were in that position. If you knew that saying yes to Rocky's request would mean reopening a wound for a victim's family that feels like this case is settled and will now feel unsettled. So please do ask. But when you ask, understand that even though we need him to do the right thing, it's hard for him, and it's understandably hard. So ask with kindness in your heart.
Thank you for leading with love and tolerance, Leah. I mean, you are such, I believe in energy. I really do. And I love the energy that you bring to the rooms that you are in. It was so lovely to see you in Montgomery, and really keep up the work. We're going to continue to amplify this. I'm going to put out this story here because it's shocking that no consequence, that this guy's still out. Like, I understand.
I know. Oh, yeah. Read Lee Hedgepeth. So Lee Hedgepeth is the reporter who wrote that Substack. He's amazing. You should follow him on all the places. And if you want to, Lee Hedgepeth, and I'm Leah Nelson, Leah A. Nelson on all the places.
Leah Nelson, thank you so much for taking the time with Nick Valencia Live. I really appreciate you, and we'll talk to you very soon.
All right. Take care, Nick.
Take care. Leah Nelson. What a story here. And I just want to put this story back up because it is just absolutely crazy. It's on Substack right now. If you just type in Google, Leah Nelson, Substack, on the advice of Klonsel, a look under the hood of Alabama injustice, a story of Rocky Myers, a Black man who was sentenced to death after being represented at trial by John Mays, a court-appointed attorney long affiliated with the Ku Klux Klan. Lee Hedgepeth is, I probably mispronounced that name, Lee Hedgepeth, there we go, the author of that report. Leah, part of the council here, and just phenomenal interview there. Thank you so much to Leah again for taking the time with us. That wraps up our show here, guys. From detention stories to uncovering Klan defense, exposing layers of injustice. We focus a lot on social justice issues here. And there's a lot of intersection happening right now between the persecution that we are feeling as Latinos in this country and what people that are not a part of our community have gone through. I don't think there's anything new under the sun. And I think what we are going through is something that the Black community has gone through for 400 years. I make the comment here a lot on this show that Black women have wet nursed this country for a long time, and they are the backbone of the Democratic Party. I think there are some people in our community who may have risen to the top of this country as families rise and fall in America, and they forget the sacrifices made by their ancestors to come here. And I think it's really easy to do that. It's really easy to pretend that things didn't happen before you and that nothing is going to happen after you. We have this disease of individualism where we think sometimes that everything stops at us. I know I have experienced that in my life. But I think right now more and more people are understanding that when your loved one hurts, you hurt too, right? Like something doesn't have to impact you directly for you to feel empathy about it. And I am exposed nerve ending sometimes. I feel like I'm just this raw emotion walking around. But also, I really feel like what we're doing is an active service and something that helps people understand what's happening. And today you were introduced to two just badass women who are shining the light on things that need to be understood and need to be exposed. Lydia Terrazas is working tirelessly along the U.S.-Mexico border in and around the San Antonio area as well, bringing us the stories of those who have been impacted by President Trump's mass deportation policy, those who are in custody, those who get deported, following those stories at any length and doing whatever it takes to get there. That clearly, I know she didn't really talk about it, but I'm sure that's having an impact on her. She's doing it anyway, though, because this is an act of service. Leah Nelson, man, she is so bright and she is so esteemed, what a pedigree. She could be working anywhere, any big city. She could be working in New York City, I'm sure, back in her hometown of Brooklyn. She's in Montgomery, Alabama, fighting the fight and taking the fight to the front door of injustice. I know there's people that are watching us from the West Coast, people that are watching us on replay from California, Los Angeles, New York, big cities. I'm guilty of it too. When you think of Alabama, Alabama, of course, shit like that's happening there. Of course, there's a Klansman that was an attorney and now he's, still working. Think about all the people that are not uncovered or that the expose hasn't been done on them yet. And I think what I'm trying to say is that there's an opportunity for somebody like Leah to really make a big difference. The light shines brightest in the darkest rooms. So I'm coming up on time here. It's 1:52 Eastern. Thank you guys so much for taking the time with us today and just being with us here. I really appreciate everyone who's been watching on Facebook, sharing on YouTube, liking, amplifying our messages on Instagram. And just continue to support us, man. We're locked in. We have some stuff coming up here. I guess I should talk about this before I let you go. We are 2 weeks out. In 2 weeks, I will be back home in Los Angeles. I'll be back home on March 24th, speaking at the USC Annenberg School of Journalism, to the journalism school there. It's a moderated discussion. I'm sure they're going to ask me all sorts of fun questions about new media, about what I've gone through and what I'm doing and what I'm up to now. And if I see that there's a runway for this new media atmosphere, ecosystem, whatever you want to call it. So I'll be back home March 24th. And we are also... That's going to happen in the daytime. March 24th, USC. At night, we're hosting a meet and greet. We will be at the Montebello Food Hall on March 24th at 6 p.m. local with some interviews, a live meet and greet. We're going to be hosting this show here live from Montebello. We have Father Greg Boyle. We have Gustavo Arellano. We have Alexis from Foods and Medicine. And I'm also expecting, hopefully, Danny Trejo. We've also reached out to Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, a.k.a. Fluffy, the guy that sells out Dodger Stadium. So a lot of people are going to be there, it seems like. And this is going to be a really fun thing. I think in this age of the internet where, everyone has a phone and we're all so connected that sometimes we could feel really disconnected. And that the true currency of today is getting people face to face and shoulder to shoulder. I think as... I kind of got this idea in Miami when I was at the Knight Foundation. I was there with Noor, who's just a phenomenal journalist. I love her work. And she was like, telling me about the dead internet theory and how as more and more AI bots and artificial intelligence get out there, this thing that was created for human beings is getting taken over by non-humans, chat bots and things like that. So she's getting people together. It gave me the idea, hey, LA's our biggest city. I'm from there. I want to see you guys. I want to meet you guys. I want to, give you guys hugs. We're going to have merch. We're going to give all sorts of stuff. It'll just be me. Rach won't be here or be there. The kids won't be there, but it will be me. I will be there. And if I'm enough of a draw, hopefully you guys show up. There's also those big names here. Father Greg Boyle, Gustavo Arellano, Alexis from Foods and Medicine. And we are waiting on confirmations from Gabriel Iglesias, Fluffy, as well as Danny Trejo, Machete. So cool stuff, guys. Thank you guys for taking the time with us today. Thank you guys for everyone watching it on replay. And as always, thank you for making us helping us make truth go viral. Have a great day on purpose, everybody.